California gubernatorial candidate Larry Elder. He's the Elder for America PAC founder. Larry, you had to evacuate your home. You've been personally hurt by the fires. What's your response to what you're hearing? Because that Santa Ynez Reservoir for the Palisades was empty of water. It's been shut for a year for repairs.
Well, Elizabeth, there's plenty of time, I suppose, to say, I told you so, but I told you so. I wrote a book after my race to recall Gavin Newsom called As Goes California. I talked about the failure of us to properly have the kind of infrastructure necessary for a population of 40 million. California has not in any real way added to its infrastructure since the state was half the population. The forests have not been thinned. Gavin Newsom lied about the number of acres that he thinned. He bragged about it. Turned out he exaggerated the number of acres that he thinned by a factor of 7. And we've had 2 years of pretty significant rain here in California. Because of the failure to build the water reservoirs and to raise the dams, most of the water goes right into the Pacific Ocean. It is absolutely absurd. The number one responsibility of government is to protect people and property. We got plenty of money to Trump-proof California. We have plenty of money to pay for taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens, but we don't have enough money to do the right kinds of things to make sure people in California are protected in situations like this. It is outrageous. He should resign. Karen Bass should resign.
So, yeah, you're right. They just got $50 million in extra spending to go after Trump in court. And now we've got this report from the Free Beacon that L.A. Fire Chief Crowley 2 months ago warned L.A. Mayor Karen Bass and city officials in November that the L.A. Fire Department had about half as many firefighters as they desperately needed, and that the department did not increase in size with the population. You're saying that, but when the deadly wildfires hit L.A., just around now, 2 months later, they reportedly pulled the L.A. Fire Chief's memo from the government website.
Well, I read that memo, and she warned about their lack of preparedness. She talked about the funding that it was stripped from her department. So she warned about all of this, and it was ignored. Again, this is the kind of irresponsible politics we have here in California. By the way, a number of firefighters were suspended without pay because they refused to take the COVID vaccine. Some of them were invited back. I'm not sure all of them came back, but I suspect that there are at least some people who would be on the lines but for the fact that they were mandated to take the vaccine.
So you have basically Californians literally on a cliff, looking out at the ocean, not realizing the water reservoir was empty. A dozen insurers have left California. Republicans now say there should be strings attached to any federal taxpayer bailout money to California. Senator John Barrasso calls it a gross failure. Your take on that, because there are new petitions getting signatures to say they should charge Governor Newsom for criminal negligence, and also a petition to get Mayor Karen Bass to resign. What do you think about this? Because Newsom cut the state spending in the fire budget by about $101 million just 2 months before the fire started.
Well, this is a big issue. One of the reasons homes are so expensive here in California is because of all the environmental regulations that jack up the price of a home. Because of the failure, as I mentioned earlier, to protect and thin the forests, a lot of the insurers either are not insuring at all or charging people a substantial amount of money. Where I live, I've been living in the same place for about 30 years. I believe my property insurance has increased almost 4-fold. And after this disaster, it'll increase even more. There are a lot of people that are on what are called the California plan, which is kind of a bare bones plan. And some people are without insurance altogether. So it's going to be a very, very expensive haul for people to rebuild if they can at all here in California.
Larry Elder, we'll stay on the story. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so sorry what happened for you and your family. It's good to see you. Now to this.